Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun. Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, so hey everybody, today's date, August the 14th, 2021. Time is going by fast. And this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm Roast Most Will Buchanan. How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, I want to let everybody know that this is a family-friendly podcast, as we do try to watch our language. However, sometimes words do fly, and there are things may be shown that might be too graphic for young viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. What news stories do we have? Well, the biggest one that we have so far, it seems Tennessee cannot seem to stay out of the limelight, especially since now with the first week of school, the school board of Williamson County deciding that the students and teachers need to wear a mask, and you think this will be common or susceptible in, I like to call Williamson County in Tennessee high society just because a good many rich folks live there. But here's how rich folks act.
And everybody's taking notes, buddy. Keep that little smug.
Put it back on. Put your mask on.
Poor kids stuck in that bacteria. How you like that?
Put your mask on.
Then we know who you are. We know who you are. No more masks.
Keep it calm.
No more masks.
We're on these guys' side. They're on
No,
our side.
no, they're not. They're not on our side.
The police are on our side. The police are on our side. Let's calm down.
Yes.
Calm down.
We
know who you are.
We
know
who
who
you are.
You can leave
We
freely,
know who you are.
but we will find you, and we know
You
who
will
you
never
are.
be allowed in
We know
public
who you
again.
are.
You will never be allowed.
I know
You never
who
let
you
it be
are.
allowed in public
I know
again.
who you are. I know who you are. Let him out. Let's let him out.
Whoa! You better watch out. You better watch out.
Keep it
You better watch out.
Keep it calm. Everybody back up, please. Everybody back up. Back up. Back up. I'm back, man. I'm on your side.
Please, back up.
I'm a
Give me
parent.
lane to get out. Give me a lane to get out.
Peace. 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 Easy. Everyone. Peace. 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 But we know who you are. You know who you are. You.
I find it interesting that the person who is literally telling everybody, peace, everybody, peace. You're trying to tell a crowd who is saying everything under the sun toward board members who have decided that masks need to be mandated in these schools, and you're talking about peace. We only want peace. And then it's the same person who's saying they only want peace is joining said person and going, "We know who you are. We know what we will find you." And the guy saying, "We will find you. We know where you are." And I'm like, all this over mask? All this over mask? Just because you don't like that mask had to be mandated. And again, it never ceased to amaze me, including my state of Tennessee, which I call progressively backwards, that you have a bunch of individuals who probably would fit right in with the January 6th riot people. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you feel that emboldened to where if you're that entitled or you're that emboldened to turn around and go to a car with an individual and sit there and say, "Oh, we know who you are. You're not going to be allowed to do all this stuff again," and then bombard his vehicle as they're trying to leave, you fit right in with the very same people who thought they could walk up to the U.S. Capitol and just walk through the front door. Just because they didn't like, "I don't like the way the count's going. I'm going to go in here and stop it." What's the difference between that and the video of people who just lost their minds because of masks? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm all for masks. You want to know why? Because masks help. Simple and put. There's no long explanation. Masks help. But that is actually in circulation today with the news. And actually, the next two pieces of videos we have is basically two people who have been there. One person who got out before that happened, and the actual testimony from the person in that car that was driving off. Check this out.
Father, who is also a doctor, at the meeting where this happened, explaining why he supports masks in schools.
At my hospital, we're seeing otherwise healthy people in their 30s and 40s getting sick, and the case counts are going up exponentially, and some are dying. And we have to do everything we can to protect the whole community, and that means the people in this room that don't agree with me and their kids in the classrooms. If we don't do this, we're going to have school shutdowns and quarantines and needless tragedies, and I don't want that for my community.
Again, a majority of parents in the country do support masks, but a vocal and in some cases angry minority do not. And after this Tennessee meeting we just showed you there, some of that minority became threatening and harassed people wearing masks as they left.
No more masks!
No more masks! No more masks! Child abusers! You are child abusers! There's a place for you guys! There's a bad place in hell! And everybody's taking notes, buddy! We know who you are! We know who you are!
Keep it calm.
No more masks!
Keep it calm. Keep it calm.
No more masks!
We're on these guys' side. They're on our side.
No, they're not. They're not on our side.
The police are on our side. The police are on our side. Let's calm down.
Yes.
Calm down. We know who you are.
We
know
know
who
who
you
you
are.
are.
You can leave
We know
freely,
who you are.
but we will find you, and we know
You
who
will
you
never
are.
be allowed in
We know
public
who you
again.
are.
You will never be allowed.
I know
You never
who you
let it be
are.
allowed in public
I know
again.
who you are. I know.
That was a terrifying scene after the meeting you were at. Now, I have to be clear, you were not personally threatened because you left earlier. I think because you were afraid of the direction things were going in. But what's it like for you to watch that? What's it like for you to watch that video?
It was shocking. I left after the public speaking portion of the meeting. I spoke, I said my piece, and the energy in that room was hot. And I knew that things were going to get a lot worse. And my wife was there. She's a medical professional too. So we decided we needed to go during the recess. So we walked out, and at the time we walked out, there was a crowd outside. They were chanting. They responded to us when we walked out, and it was intense. Before we walked out, we had to brace ourselves. I took my wife's arm and I said, "Just remember, no matter what they say, these are the lives we're trying to save." And we walked out, and I was approached, and someone put their hand in my face and called me a traitor, which I don't see how anyone can say that when I've been on the front lines of this pandemic since the beginning, treating patients in rooms, unvaccinated for the vast majority of it, hoping I wouldn't take it home to my family. And for someone to say that, it's mind blowing. And it wasn't until the next morning that someone showed me this video, and I was shaken. I was very, very, very scared by that.
Crazy, isn't it? That was just one person that actually was the doctor, as you saw in the video, was giving his statement on the reason why masks were needed. And again, he is a physician that is caring for COVID patients in a hospital. And even he saw the fact of the matter of, oh, these people about to get wild. And so, yes, he did the smart decision. Him and his wife actually left before everything could go down. Now, the person that you saw in the car, however, the next video is their perspective.
Being harassed in that car. Michael Miller. Michael, thank you for being here. I've got a preview monitor right over here, and I could see you shaking your head as you were watching that video. What are you thinking as you watch that back?
Every time I watch that, I'm terrified. When you're in the moment, I knew it was bad. I called my wife as soon as I got out of there. I called a friend on the way home. I drove the most convoluted way possible home after that. I had no idea how bad it really was until I saw it and someone shared that video with me the next day. It was very clear the direction the final vote was going. There were several amendments that did not pass along the way, but it was clear that the main amendment to have masks mandated in elementary was going to pass. There were several doctors that were seated around me that had left one by one, and at 8 o'clock I noticed a sheriff's deputy enter the room in a full bulletproof vest on the outside of his shirt. And that was a sign to me that something was going wrong. We could hear the chanting from inside the room, from the crowd outside. And at 8:40, one person left next to me, and I followed her out the door at that point because I did not want to be there for a complete bedlam that I would anticipate once that vote actually passed. When I walked out, I said to the sheriff that was guarding the door, I said, I want an escort to my car. He said, there are officers waiting immediately outside the door. I said, thank you, sir. They escorted me to my vehicle, as you can see. They tried to get me around the crowd. Unfortunately, the crowd was located in a position between the exit door and my vehicle. They were not to the side or anything like that, so I had to get out of there. All I wanted to do was go home to my family and my kids. I'm a parent. I'm not a doctor. I work as a data analyst in the healthcare profession. I'm just a parent who wanted to have his say why masks were important for children, all children under the age of 12.
Crazy. I mean, for the simple fact of the matter, I'm going to keep saying this because I see no difference with that crowd who felt like they could just walk up to them and just, be in their face talking about, oh, we don't need masks. You're this, you're that. We will find you. That's mob mentality. It is mob mentality. And at the same time, this was basically validated when you look at the Capitol rioters. When you look at the Capitol riot, where a whole bunch of so-called patriots, let's just call them terrorists, what they are, decided to storm the Capitol, decided to try to stop an election count because they believed that it was wrong, even though they were pretty much lied to by Trump. But again, they felt emboldened to do so. And let's kind of be honest, a lot of those cases in the Capitol riots, none of them are actually seeing anything heavy as far as jail time goes. So if you relate that to what's happening now, you have a whole bunch of people that don't like the fact that, yes, masks are going to be mandated in Williamson County, as they should be, especially for kids, as they should be. You have a whole bunch of parents who feel emboldened to go outside and basically go after the school board members for simply making a decision because there's no penalty. I have said it once before. I'll say it once again. There doesn't seem to be a penalty. Let's just call it what it is. There doesn't seem to be a penalty for white people. Doesn't seem to be. Because you can go up to the U.S. Capitol, you can break stuff and attempt to try to kidnap senators and representatives. Nothing happens to you. You can go up to a school board member who decided to vote in favor of masks for your child to wear masks to go to school. Apparently, you can get as close to their car to them and nothing happens to you. So again, where's the line going to be drawn? Especially what happens when, as we are starting the school year with the coronavirus / the Delta variant, where's the line? Because right now, the next story is going to basically exacerbate my point on when is there a line going to be put in the sand for this type of behavior, especially if a parent decides to go after a teacher.
County Unified School District families received this letter today. Reading, a parent took it upon himself to verbally assault a principal. That led to a serious physical altercation between him and a teacher, as the teacher intended to protect the principal. Superintendent Tori Gibson said the attack happened yesterday when the parent's daughter walked out of a school building wearing a mask.
It was physical. The teacher was bleeding, had some lacerations to his face, had some bruising on his face, pretty good sized knot on the back of his head.
This happened nearly an hour after school let out, so luckily very few students were on campus at the time.
Things have been slowly and steadily ramping up, and so as much as I would like to say I'm surprised, there's a part of me that internally is not completely surprised that this has happened.
She says the male parent was frustrated with the school's indoor mask requirement for everyone while students are on campus. But the district's policy says teachers who have proved they are fully vaccinated can take off their mask indoors when students are not present. The district's policy is in line with the indoor mask mandate by the state health department.
My understanding is that he was frustrated because he felt like there was a different standard for staff than there were for kids.
The teacher was sent to the hospital and was released late last night.
He was bound and determined to not miss day 2 of school, and so he was here. He was emotional at times, but very positive and just ready to spend his day with kids.
When it bleeds out into locations where our children are, that's not okay.
One parent we spoke to said he's concerned.
Your message to that parent who took things too far yesterday?
Chill out. Take a deep breath. It's not worth it. It's not worth throwing punches.
The superintendent says violence against any staff member will not be tolerated. Right now, that parent is no longer allowed on campus.
The hardest part for me as a leader right now over the last 18 months is that I don't feel like educators are seen as first responders. And we truly are. I mean, we've kept it together, and it's been rough.
And she is very much right. Educators are not being seen as first responders, not in the same sense as we see 911 operators, EMTs, fire, and even law enforcement that come at a moment's notice. She's right. Educators are basically first responders because they have one of the most difficult jobs and also one of the most rewarding jobs out there, which is teaching our children. But going back to the heart of the matter, where's the line? You can storm Congress. You can go after board members for a decision you don't like. And apparently you can attack a teacher because of a rule you don't like. And I've yet to hear in any of these 3 cases, where's the consequences? Because I mean, for example, I could talk about the Capitol riot attack all day and still ask the question, where in the blue is the penalties? Because I don't see them. I mean, it should be for everybody that was there. You should have terrorist charges. You should be tried as a terrorist. You should be tried as a terrorist under the American Patriot Act. You should be. You attacked the government building, and yet nothing. At the same time, these board members who were threatening these Williamson County parents who were threatening school board members, we will find you. You won't be able to go anywhere. We're going to, you know, when you're threatening to make somebody's life difficult, that's a threat, and yet it should be taken with extreme caution and extreme measures. Again, I don't see a penalty. Even in that last story where a teacher was assaulted by a parent because the teacher was protecting the principal over a mask issue, I have yet to hear that the parent who put hands on the teacher who protected the principal is facing any charges. And again, I have to ask this question. What is the correlation with all of this? Because all I can sit there and say is there's a lot of mayo out there that is literally being allowed to do what they want, and at the same time, they are not facing any penalty. So, where's the line? I mean, because it's only going to escalate until severe penalties become a thing. This is going to escalate. Only because a lot more people are going to get bolder, and it's going to get to the simple fact of the matter is somebody is going to get hurt a lot worse than that teacher did, just because of one person. That one person becomes a mob. That mob becomes a group. That group becomes a movement. That's exactly how you get to the Capitol riots. But again, I have to ask this question: where's the line with you? Where's the line with you people who are against masks? The same people I assume who are against masks are against vaccines. But where's the line? Because the world is, I mean, for the next videos we're about to show, you're going to see a definite difference. The world is moving forward without you. And you are going to get left behind, and you're still going to complain. But anyway, but moving forward, you know, everybody's mad about these masks, but we're okay, right? America's back to normal. You like to think so.
Bleak, to say the least. New infections back above 100,000 a day for the first time since February. Hospitalizations now at their highest level in nearly 6 months. Remember, vaccines were not widely available the last time the numbers were this troubling, but they are now, which makes this current pain as unnecessary as it is real.
We are failing. We would not be in the place we are right now with this Delta surge if we'd been more effective in getting everybody to take advantage of these immunizations. And now we're paying a terrible price.
Let's show you what that terrible price Dr. Collins looks like. This is the map of the United States by now by county. You can't really see the county lines on the map, can you? That's because 95% of the population, 95% of the American people live in a county where the CDC says you should mask up, meaning lives in a county with either high or substantial community transmission. Look at all that red. Look at all that high. What happens when you have such high community transmission is you get this, back above 100,000 new infections a day. Back above 100,000 new infections a day for the first time since February. 1 year ago, we're at 54,000 cases a day. Had a little dip, went up into the horrors of the winter. We're still going up right now as we make our way through the summer. When cases go up that fast, hospitalizations go up as well. 66,509 people hospitalized with COVID as of yesterday. At the peak in January, it was 142,000. Back in February, we were about the same, a little below, 62 there. A year ago, 60,000. So this number remains up and remains frustrating. What the experts say is the only way to fix this is to get more Americans vaccinated. It is up a little bit. These are people getting their first vaccine shot, initiating vaccination. It is trending up a little bit. Sunday, 481,000 plus, but most public health experts say you got to get it up well above 500,000. Many say 1 million to 1.5 million. At that point, let's bring in to share her insights and expertise our CNN medical analyst, Dr. Leana Wen. She's the former Baltimore Health Commissioner, also author of the new book, Lifelines, A Doctor's Journey in the Fight for Public Health. Dr. Wen, let's start with that. How high, how fast, how much more aggressive does the vaccine ramp up need to be in this race now against Delta, which we are losing?
You're right that we're certainly losing this battle right now. I mean, when we look at even compared to a month ago, we are at 900% the level of new infections compared to early July, and there's no particular end in sight. I mean, I think all of us would want the vaccination numbers to be a lot higher in the sense that we know we need a lot more community immunity. We can get there. However, we also have to keep in mind that vaccination for the short term is not going to be the answer, as in even if every single person gets vaccinated today, we're still looking at another 6 weeks before there is enough immunity from that population. And so we really need indoor mask mandates. And it's really upsetting, I think, that in the parts of the country that have the most surge, they're the places that are least likely to be imposing vaccine requirements and masking requirements too.
Right, and many of those same areas, I'm about to show them on the map, are going back to school, either starting last week or this week or in the next few days. So it all overlaps. And let's look at that population. This is the map of the country. Alabama is now the only state below. Look, it has the lowest 34 36.8%. It's below 35% of its people vaccinated. But just pay attention down here. If you look in this area of the country here, where you see the vaccination rate is the lowest, right? Just remember this as I switch. This is vaccination rate, right? So now we're going to look at cases per 100,000 people. Where's the problem? The darker the state here, the higher the problem. It's the same area. I'm going to stop here for a second, Dr. Wen. Florida is the highest, but you see Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. There is zero dispute here, right? Where vaccinations are low, cases are higher.
There is no dispute. He's right. It is literally, I was like, for all those that thinking we're back to normal, we're not. We're worse. We've actually went back so many steps. We're not even at step one. We're basically back at zero. Because why? When vaccinations are low and you decide to have these open air events and folks who are very capable of transmitting the virus are at these events, might as well be super spreaders, cases increase. Tennessee, honestly, it's the same way. We just had a Grand Prix race here where there was no social distancing that's put in place. There was no masks were treated as you will. And at the same time, we also had, of course, in some areas, that Lollapalooza, which you could tell everybody was together. Again, that wasn't in Tennessee, but those are super spreader events. So I am not surprised that even now, downtown Nashville, I guarantee, is busy with a whole bunch of tourists. Nobody's wearing masks, and it's wall to wall down there. And yet they wonder why we're still fighting cases. But if the moment you bring up a shot, oh, I don't want to take a shot. I don't, you can go down the road. You can go down the road of reasons, and I beat that tree enough, and I beat that bush to the point to where the leaves are gone. Because no matter how you feel about it, you're not being microchipped. Well, it's not FDA approved. No, but it's FDA sanctioned under emergency protocols. And besides, for a lot of you people, y'all do eat some things and drink some things that aren't FDA approved anyway. So you saying that's not FDA approved while you're sitting there still, I'll use the weed heads. I'll use the weed heads on this one. You guys know that marijuana's not FDA approved, but you still smoke it. Why? Because you know it, you like the effects. Okay. Again, just because something's not FDA approved doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. No, they're not trying to microchip you, considering the fact that you carry a smartphone that can be tracked and as a listening device. They don't need to chip you. You have a smartphone. At the same time, well, I just don't trust the government. But you get taxes and checks from them. You get your refund check from them every year. You pay taxes to them. Especially if you were under a certain specific type of government-backed healthcare. That, again, you took all these things and you didn't question them then, but you don't trust the government about giving you a free vaccine shot that could possibly save your life. Okay, but again, I am not surprised by this. This is really how you have to defeat ignorance with information, facts, and intelligence. You have to. Because, again, the facts right there can be seen for everybody to see. Low vaccination rates equal higher cases. And right now, from that map that John King of CNN just showed, that everywhere nowadays, you're going to need a mask. We've progressively went backwards because now we used to be able to go out and about without masks because, cases were falling. Now we're right back to masking up whenever we go to. And you know what's going to happen next? Because I'm going to go ahead and call it. We're going to go back to lockdowns. Why? Because again, we're letting people have this freedom that they keep saying that is being taken away from them. This freedom of choice and freedom of what they want to do that they swear up and down is being taken away from them is going to be taken away from them by their own doing. Because lockdowns are bound to happen. If the cases don't fall and hospital systems are being at critical levels to where even in some states they have to turn people away because their ICUs are full over here in Vanderbilt, here in Nashville, they have to use the waiting room as a trauma room, which means that they have to see it as they have to use the waiting room because the beds in Vanderbilt are taken. They have to use the trauma rooms as emergency area. I'm sorry, that was wrong. They're using their waiting rooms as trauma areas to where they can basically treat people right there as they come in. Not because it's convenient, it's because every other room is occupied. Oh, and let me not forget in Missouri, they're telling people to consider alternative means before calling 911 because every bed in their hospitals is now occupied. They're at full capacity. There are some states like Texas whose ICU units for children are full. And now it's like, what more of an example do you need to be vaccinated? Because again, your choice, and I was making this very clear on previous podcasts. It's no longer your consequence. Now your choice is your choices and consequences affect us all. You choosing not to be vaccinated but still wants to go out and about means you are a risk. So yes, I hate to break it to you for all those that are not vaccinated, the world is moving on without you, and they will move on because they realize they gave you time to catch up with the rest of us, to join the boat as far as getting us back to some sense of normalcy. The thing is, you guys decided not to. You guys said we're going to just eat our fruits and vegetables and we're going to stay inside. We're going to, not trust anything the government says, but we're going to trust some internet person who had a blog or who had a podcast, that's not medical personnel, that's not a research, it's not a scientist, not a doctor, not any of those things. But we're going to trust them because basically I like what they're saying. I've never understood that for as long as I live. I've never understood that. So, again, I learned a long time ago, you're just going to have, with some individuals, it's just going to be to where they just will simply not get it. It's just the way it is. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this other story because, again, we seem to be having a lot of school stories. You wonder about Florida. The first state that Governor DeSantis said that we're not going to wear masks, that we're not going to do this, that we're not going to turn back the clock. Well, there's a problem with that because now there's a story out about Florida and about 440 students who are quarantined. I wish I could make this up.
Off and running in Palm Beach County, but not for everybody. According to the school district, as of the end of the school day Wednesday, 440 students were in quarantine for issues related to COVID-19. Caden Hart is one of those students.
Just getting a late start is a scary thought.
Caden is a sophomore at Dwyer High School in Palm Beach Gardens, though she has yet to actually have her first day of sophomore year. Both of her parents tested positive for COVID, so Caden is now home in quarantine.
A part of my brain definitely is like, oh, well, I don't have to go to school, I can sleep in. But the majority, I'm really concerned about being left behind this year.
Caden says she's been trying to keep up by emailing teachers and working through Google Classroom, but there's only so much she can do when she's not actually in school. There's no virtual option this year. Caden took a COVID test Wednesday and is hoping it's negative so she can return to class on Monday. But she worries that her experience may just be the beginning for so many students this year.
What happens when kids start getting COVID again and then they're missing 2 weeks of school and they're missing all of these lessons and stuff that they're going to need?
And the recommendation is adopt.
I mean, 440 students. 440 students after just 2 days of school. 440 students from the same state that Governor DeSantis is threatening school personnel and everyone else with masks. That if you wear a mask, that for the simple fact of the matter, your job is threatened, your pay is threatened. All of this. Now you gotta think for 1 second. Why in the world would someone go that far just for masks? Just because, well, I mean, let's be honest, Governor DeSantis is also Trump's lackey, so I guess I shouldn't really be surprised about this. But at the same time, 440 students because you wanted to push the mandate. That alone screams volumes about what you wanted to do, about, the people, the powers that be that run this spot. It is amazing. It honestly is. But that's the world we live in. That Florida, which is usually the point where everybody tries to make about Florida, saying for simple fact of the matter, oh, it's only because, we need to move forward. You can't move forward by sticking what you think is going to work. Again, it goes back to what I said. Consequences don't just affect just you. They affect everyone. Even more so as we move on to our next story where, again, I never thought in 2021 we would still be seeing segregated classrooms, especially done by Black people. This story's a trip.
District here has looked into these allegations and says it has taken action. Still, parent Kyla Posey says she can't believe a principal thought separating students according to race was a good idea.
We've lost sleep trying to figure out, why would a person do this?
Kyla Posey says she was stunned when she learned about classes segregated by race at Mary Lynn Elementary last year, a practice she says was put in place and condoned by Principal Sharon Briscoe.
First, it was just disbelief that I was having this conversation in 2020 with a person that looks just like me, a Black woman. It's segregating classrooms. You cannot segregate classrooms. You can't do it.
Posey says she found out the school was putting Black students in 2 separate classes with 2 separate teachers. The white kids were placed in 6 classes with 6 different teachers. The parent says she found this out when she let Briscoe know she wanted her child placed in the classroom of a teacher she thought would be a good fit. Posey says the principal said that wouldn't work.
She said that that's not one of the Black classes, and I immediately said, what does that mean? I was confused. I asked for more clarification on, I was like, we have those in the school? And she proceeded to say that, yes, I have decided that I'm going to place all of the Black students in 2 classes.
Posey says she insisted her child be placed in a class with white students. She says Briscoe explained her child would be isolated.
And I explained to her she shouldn't be isolated or punished because I'm unwilling to go along with your illegal and unethical practice.
The Poseys recorded a call with an assistant principal where they complained about the segregated classes. The administrator confirmed it was the principal's decision and seemed to offer an explanation why the classes were set up this way.
We have more Black kids too, and then some of them are in a class because of the services that they need.
Kyla Posey has filed this discrimination complaint with the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. Her attorney, Sharice Shields, says what's going on at Mary Lynn is a violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 say that you cannot treat one group of people differently based upon race, and that is what is going on at Mary Lynn.
Crazy, right? That you're basically saying that, okay, so these kids who are Black need to be grouped together, and that was the principal's reasoning, that they need more help and services, so we're going to separate them into a class by themselves away from other kids. It is crazy that someone could think that makes sense. It's crazy to think that as a principal, it's like, oh, this makes sense. We'll separate all the Black kids from the white kids and put them in 2 different classes and use the fact that resources and other assistance maybe need to divert from one to the other. Congratulations, you just explained systemic racism in an educational format. The principal's wrong. And the mom is right. You're basically going to be isolating them. Because I always said it best, the way that you combat racism, the way that you combat the way that you overcome all of these, you combat bigotry, you combat racism, you create awareness, you create and develop awareness. You have to let these kids basically coexist, co-learn with each other. Why? Because that helps awareness. It's just like critical race theory. It's always funny about critical race theory. If critical race theory was not just a law class, and it was something that could have been taught in schools, you don't think for 1 second that that would have had an impact? Of course it would have had an impact. But the thing about it is, they don't want to sit there and they don't want to say, well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I mean, the simple fact of the matter is the principal just sat there and did something that did violate that, but at the same time, they try to reason it. You can't reason racism. You can't reason separation. And I don't know who the superintendent for that school system is, but they really need to take a look at what that principal's doing, because that is damaging to kids. But there is some good news, guys, especially for those who are immunocompromised that are waiting to see what they can do about the vaccine. Well, it looks like that the CDC has finally gave approval to move forward on it.
As the highly contagious Delta variant spreads across the country, new COVID-19 cases rose 18% this week. Hospital admissions jumped 30%, and reported deaths are up 21% since last week. The CDC has now given the green light for some people to get an additional vaccine dose, and ABC's Elwin Lopez is in Atlanta with the latest. Elwin, good morning to you.
Hey, Dan, good morning. The CDC says that specific group of immunocompromised people make up less than 3% of the country's population, but about 40% of those hospitalized with breakthrough cases. That third shot, a sign of hope for millions.
This morning, a new round of COVID-19 shots in the U.S. A CDC advisory panel recommending a third dose of Pfizer and Moderna for some people with compromised immune systems.
The ACIP is continuing to discuss and deliberate the emerging issues with regard to duration of immunity as different variants emerge. And right now we're focused on the Delta variant.
With some schools back in full swing, classrooms at the center of it all. Chicago Public Schools mandating vaccines for all employees. And in Arizona, a Phoenix high school defined the state's ban on mask mandates by requiring students to mask up. One teacher filing a lawsuit to prevent the school from requiring masks. As districts grapple with face covering rules, some parents say they feel forced to choose between education or the health of their kids. Like former teacher and mom of two, Jacqueline Destrees, her children testing positive.
It's like I sent my kids to go get sick. That's what I did. You know, there's no reason to make a law against protecting our kids.
This is ICUs across the South are filling up. In Texas, the Lone Star State's hospital's almost at capacity. One patient waiting more than 2 days for a hospital bed.
Wake up, get a clue.
And I'm not knocking that. I had to cut that a little bit short just because the simple fact of the matter, they kind of went to the same story that we've already talked about. But yes, the simple fact of the matter, guys, is just that for those who are immunocompromised, those with lupus, those with blood poisoning, things of that nature, and other ailments, especially with their immune system, make them special cases not to get the vaccine until more information was followed. Now it looks like they are getting approval to get that booster shot for immunosuppressants, and I think that's great because again, we want everybody to be vaccinated. I want everybody to be vaccinated. I want cases to drop. I basically want, for the simple fact of the matter, I basically want us to get this back to some sense of normalcy. Now, will it may happen at this point? No, because folks are still wanting to do what they believe is right. I still think, for the simple fact of the matter, that it's still possible. But now that other people who are in a special kind of condition or case can now be vaccinated, I just think it's great, and we should be doing it. We really should be doing it at this point. But we will follow that story as it comes along. Now, for all those who are probably wondering, from the gas pump to the grocery store, why your price is going up? Well, capitalism.
Prices. The cost of ordinary items are on the rise. Rebecca Jarvis joins us with what's driving up costs and what it means for your bills. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning to you, Michael. And we are seeing those price increases really across the board on goods and services, but they are slower price increases than what we had seen earlier this year and in the summer. Here's the look at things. in groceries. You're seeing those prices go up on meat, poultry, and fish by 5.9%. On dining out, you're seeing prices up 4.6%. And gasoline, you just heard that motorcycle behind me? Well, gasoline prices are up 41.8%. He's paying a lot more for that ride today than he did a year ago. Now, the bottom line here is that prices are going up for the most part across the board, but there's one area where we have seen prices going higher that didn't see prices significantly higher last month, and that is in the area of used cars. Those prices are up 41.7% this year, but last month the pace started to slow down. And the bottom line here is that supply shortages are really driving things higher, and we're expecting to see even greater price increases in the future. Companies like Shake Shack just this week said they're going to hike prices between 3 and 3.5%. The small businesses out there, they were surveyed just this month. 44% of them, Michael, say they're going to hike prices going forward.
When you said Shake Shack is hiking prices, I saw some lips at the desk go just like that. A little upset about that one, Rebecca. But I got to say, there is some good news out there. If you are seeking a job, there are over 10 million job openings right now.
This is a job seekers market, and that's great news if you're an employee. For employers out there, part of the issue here is that the cost of not being able to find that labor, increasing wages, we are starting to see those costs being passed along to the consumer. The Delta variant is a big wild card here, because if people start consuming less, that could actually help moderate prices. But going forward, the question now is, how long do these price increases continue? The Federal Reserve, Michael, believes that this is temporary, whereas other economists see them continuing to rise. Michael?
We know the public hope is temporary. Thank you.
So, long story short, prices are going up because, well, they choose not to pay workers at the same time that the prices are going up because profits still got to be made. Not really surprised by this at all. This is exactly what we said was. I mean, a lot of economists said this is going to happen, especially with the coronavirus. Number one, that again, stagnant wages leads to employee loss, and what this actual pandemic has shown a lot of people. Because again, I love how she sat there, and I love how they sat there and said, "Well, it's a job seekers market right now." Well, here's the problem with that. For the simple fact of the matter. It's just that you can't call it a job seekers market, simply put, just because, well, they're crappy jobs. For a lot of these jobs, they're not paying anything. For a lot of these jobs, they're not paying anything above maybe $13 an hour, $14 an hour, and a lot of people in this pandemic are learning that these jobs ain't worth it. I mean, some people are realizing that I am not going to be killing myself for $7 or $8 or $9 or $10 an hour and bump it, leave. And a lot of businesses are experiencing that. So that's why you see help wanted, you see job wanted signs everywhere, especially in the service and hospitality industry. You see that with fast food. You see that with cleaning places, factories, warehouses. Oh, we're all hiring. We're all hiring same day, you'll get cash in the same day. You will be able to do this. You'll be able to do that. But the one thing that a lot of these companies aren't doing is raising the wage. Like I said before, if there's a lot of people out there that want to work, there are a lot of people out there that want to work. Here's the thing. I guarantee, and I challenge businesses to do this. Raise your wage above it. Raise your wage to $18 to $19 an hour at any position. $18 to $19 an hour at any position, at least. If any business did that and raised their wages to $18 to $19 an hour at their lowest position, I guarantee you'll have at least 1,000 applications before the end of the week. Why? People want to work where they're appreciated. And it used to be the case that we didn't always have this luxury. You didn't always have the luxury of working where you're appreciated. Sometimes you just had to work out of necessity. You had to work to keep bills, keep the bills paid, to keep the lights on, keep the roof over your head, to keep the car that you have. The point of it is, a lot of people are realizing they could do without. And when you have enough people, when enough people are leaving the workforce because they're just simply wanting better and it's not there, think for 1 second, that hurts businesses. And businesses, instead of raising their prices, instead of raising the wages that they pay employees, they pass that on to the consumer. And that is a temporary stopgap measure because the simple fact of the matter is, consumers will always be looking for the most economically sound product, unless there's just simply nothing else like it out there. That being said, it's going to come to a point to where some people are going to be like, this is way too high for me to afford. I'm going to go find something cheaper. And when that happens, that usually spells the downfall for the business. But again, a lot of companies out there have figured out, oh crap, we need to up our pay, because if we don't, this is going to happen. So again, yes, prices are up everywhere, but again, there's ways to combat this. But the thing about it is, no one is talking about the simple fact of the matter is, businesses need to invest in their employees by paying them more. If you did that, imagine what would happen. I know what would happen. Our economy would recover faster than us getting off this pandemic. We would, if companies decide to do so. But we'll see. But speaking of businesses, I sat there and said this a long time ago that this was going to happen. And if you're still unvaccinated, all you can do is blame yourself.
Rolling out back to office plans for the fall. But in the past week, that has drastically changed as the Delta variant continues its rapid spread. But now many companies, large and small, are now instituting vaccine mandates to try to help return their businesses to normal. United Airlines today becoming the first U.S. airline to require all their employees be vaccinated. So could businesses help change the tide on boosting vaccinations? And how will employees respond? ABC's Deirdre Bolton has the story.
From tech to big hospitals to banks and restaurants, many businesses across the country are now demanding employees get vaccinated.
An employer can mandate vaccinations, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has put out guidance about that.
Companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Uber, and Disney, the parent company of ABC News, are doing just that.
This isn't a new pandemic thing. It's the same principle that applies when an employer says you have to have a certain license or training to do a job.
Meat producer Tyson is issuing a mandate for its corporate and meat packing plant workers. Tyson's CEO announced its decision in a memo writing, "We have spent months encouraging our team members to get vaccinated. Today, under half of our team members are. We take this step today because nothing is more important than our team members' health and safety." Walmart is mandating that all its U.S.-based corporate employees be vaccinated. Its in-store and warehouse workers are encouraged, but not mandated to be so.
It's a fine line that employers are walking between strongly encouraging vaccines versus mandating vaccines.
For non-corporate, smaller businesses, some owners are even more direct in their stance.
If an employee didn't want to be vaccinated, it was very simple. We respect the decision, and that employee is terminated and can go work somewhere else.
From the high-end Le Bernardin restaurant to Danny Meyer's Shake Shack to Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, some in hospitality are even requiring full vaccinations for their customers.
We are getting some very good response from the clients because we are calling back everyone and confirming the reservation that they have, making sure that they are aware that they need a vaccination proof.
But sometimes to mixed reactions.
On the phone, it's very positive. On social media, on my Instagram platform and on Twitter, it's kind of the Wild West. We have a lot of people who are upset.
Joe Fazzula, longtime co-owner of Garrity's Supermarkets in Scranton, PA, says he's encouraging his employees to get vaccinated, but he isn't mandating it.
We are leaving it up to our employees to make that decision with hopefully the input of their physician. A lot of these people have been with us for 20, 30, 40 years. And we feel that it's up to them to make that decision.
And with case rates remaining low in his area, he says a mandate for his small business isn't necessary.
I don't want to put them in the position of having to decide whether or not they want to continue their employment or have to be forced to get a vaccine.
Attorney Jessica Lee sees in-person workers in a unique position.
Everything is a lot easier for office workers, people who can do their work from home, than it is for folks who are in like customer-facing fields where they're dealing with the public all day, every day.
Many business owners are mandating vaccines because they see protecting their staff and their customers as a way to also protect their profits. From an economic standpoint, it is clear that if Americans do not feel comfortable in their surroundings, they tend to spend less money outside their homes. Consumer spending is 2/3 of U.S. economic activity, and there are broad implications for the pace of the economic recovery based on how consumers spend.
If you care about the economy and you care about resuming a normal life, you have to go out and get vaccinated. The obvious worry for America is that we find ourselves back where we were half a year ago, with schools going back to being online, with people deciding to stay back home, being too afraid to go out, and with governments, certainly at the local level, beginning to reimpose restrictions on the kinds of activities that you can engage in outside of your house. That's the big worry.
New York City will become the first U.S. city to require proof of vaccination for a variety of activities for workers and customers. Indoor dining, using gyms, attending movies.
I want you to imagine the notion that because someone's vaccinated, they can do all the amazing things that are available in this city. But if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things.
President Biden directly thanked companies that have made vaccines mandatory. As for federal workers, they must also now be vaccinated or test frequently.
We all want our lives to get back to normal. And fully vaccinated workplaces will make that happen more quickly and more successfully.
But 6 states have passed laws that block state and municipal offices from mandating a COVID-19 vaccine among staff members. They can encourage but not issue mandates. Those 6 states and another 6 have laws that prevent public schools from issuing mandates. Whether on the federal or local level, there's one important legal wrinkle.
We don't have FDA-approved vaccines. The 3 vaccines are only emergency use authorization.
Only approved vaccines can be mandated by law. The Food and Drug Administration has sped up its timetable for approving Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine, possibly by early September.
Those people who are hesitant to get vaccinated because they perceive the emergency use authorization as not being proof enough that it's safe and effective, even though we have ample evidence that it's highly effective and highly safe, I think you're going to see more people get vaccinated.
Dr. Fauci is one who believes that the change in classification will change behavior.
You're also going to see enterprises feeling much more confident in local mandates for vaccines. But you're going to see more universities, colleges, places of business who, once they get the cover of an officially approved vaccine, they're going to start mandating vaccines.
For ABC News, I'm Deirdre Bolton in New York.
Yeah, pretty much. Businesses are going to start mandating this stuff. And it won't just be businesses. Colleges are already starting to do it. Other areas are starting to do it. I hate to break it to you folks, but it's bound to happen. And again, for all those who are unvaccinated, what are you going to do? I mean, it's going to get to the point to where you're either going to like to be constantly, okay, for the simple fact of the matter, you're either going to love to be constantly tested, which I don't think you ever noticed that anybody that's ever done COVID testing, I've done it a few times, it is not pleasant to go up the nose. It's not pleasant. It ain't at all. Even blowing my ass, when the first time I got a COVID test, because I wanted to go ahead and, do my part in all this, and I'm talking about when she sat there and said, tilt your head back. Okay, I tilt my head back, and she goes, you're going to feel something. No kidding. It's a cotton swab about yay long that is going up the nose and then scrubbing. Yeah, not pleasant. Imagine doing that all the time. You don't want to get the vaccination? So that means that every time you got to be tested. You got to be rapid tested. I don't know about you, but a shot in my arm is a lot better than having a Q-tip go up my nose just simply because I don't like the idea of vaccines. I'm sorry, I took the shot. I took the shot a long time ago, and I'm fine. And everybody had different side effects of the shot. It's a vaccine. Again, the vaccine is supposed to help us combat. It's not a cure. It's supposed to help us combat COVID, give us a better chance of survival. And I am all for that. Businesses at first didn't want to sit there and recommend anything because, again, there wasn't very much evidence. But when we did have evidence, a lot more people are getting it. Now businesses are starting to say, okay, you should be mandated. Now, again, just like it showed in the chart, there are a lot of states that have already banned the fact that vaccines can't be mandated. But eventually that's going to go away because, again, you saw the states they pointed out. Well, if you remember that CNN video I showed a while back where every state was red, that means there's a 99.5 chance that you're around someone with COVID in those areas. Trust me, those mandates on banning vaccines will not last long if cases increase and the hospital system fails. That will definitely not happen. But again, I'm not complaining because it's bound to happen. This is the way of life that I was talking about. The world is moving forward, and if you choose not to be a part of it, then yes, you're going to be under worse restrictions than we were under lockdown, simply put, because we were trying to combat the virus. Case in point, folks, you can either get on the boat with the rest of us, or you can be sitting there treading water, getting tested every time you have to go to work, and possibly facing healthcare costs. Because if you don't think this is not going to affect your healthcare being unvaccinated, you got another thing coming. I'm just going to go ahead and call it off the bat. There's no news on that yet, but I'm going to go ahead and call it. Healthcare costs are going to go up for the unvaccinated, and it's the same way as if you're a smoker. If you smoke, yes, you pay more in health insurance than the non-smoker does. Why? You're a health risk. Get used to hearing the words health risk in the next coming months. But anyway, that's gonna do it for the news. So let's go and get to our feel good news segment, because like we used to do in How the Frack We Got Here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, make you want to just lose complete faith in the human race. But hey, it's the weekend. It's sunny here in Nashville, so hopefully it's sunny where you're at. And we want to leave you guys on a good note, some positivity to just send you out with a smile if we could. And this first one, as I said before, random acts of kindness are always great and accepted. And what this man did for this piano player, I thought was pretty cool.
America Strong, a chance encounter and the life-changing gift from total strangers.
Tony Valentine Carter has been playing the piano for 6 decades. His stage for the last 7 years, a corner of Concourse A at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta.
People love having live music. They've had a weary travel day, and they're not expecting this. And it just changes everything. I love this job.
On Thursday, Tony's playing caught the attention of Carlos Whitaker, an Instagram influencer with more than 200,000 followers. Tony telling Carlos about his long battle with kidney disease.
The second he told me that he's on dialysis 9 hours a night, wakes up every morning, and goes and plays the piano for tips for 4 hours, I go, this brother's about to get a big tip.
Carlos so captivated by Tony's story, he wanted to make a difference and asked his followers to help.
Let's go. That's it right there.
Let's see how much we can raise in 45 minutes for this saint of a human. During a break, Carlos delivers the amazing news.
So I put my Venmo out there, and in 35 minutes, I need to let you know that I'm about to give you $10,000. They just deposited $10,000. 170,000 strangers that loved your piano playing, and I asked them to give you money. Oh, man. You deserve this, bro. Your wife deserves this. I don't even know you, but I love you.
Days later, that tip would grow to more than $70,000. The kindness of strangers changing one piano man's life forever.
You don't have to say nothing. I love you. I got to catch my flight. Take care of that wife. You right here. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Beautiful story. Power of social media.
Of course, it's a beautiful story. I mean, like I said, random acts of kindness. There is something about doing something for someone, whether, like I said before, and you guys hear me say this a lot, that whether it's a day, whether it's a minute, an hour, a day, or just flat out a lifetime, that kind of stuff, guys, it sticks with an individual. And all it does is stick with an individual for the simple fact of the matter that it's just something that you just, it restores my faith in humanity. If a complete stranger could raise money for a person that he sees playing in a bar and finds out his story, that's great. That's beautiful in my opinion. So definitely kudos to that. Also, another story I have is, like, I always love these stories of just of these types of individuals, because I always say these are the types of people that need to win the lottery. And I'm gonna say that's nothing more I'm gonna say about that till the story plays.
Welcome back. It's time for Feel Good Friday, where we bring you a little good news headed into the weekend. And today it's all about three cousins that share an unbreakable bond. Melody Stubbs, Courtney Harper, and Janicia Wilson are all pregnant with twins, and all due in October. Now the trio does almost everything together, and they even have the same doctor. And Melody, Courtney, and Janicia are actually here today to join us for their Feel Good Friday story. Ladies, you're even wearing the same color shirt. I love it. Huge congratulations to you all, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So I know you said that the first question that people ask you is if twins run in your family, and the answer is actually no. So Courtney, why don't you start us off? How surprised were you when you found out that all three of you were expecting twins?
Ecstatic, shocked, all the above. Still can't believe it.
And Janicia, what's it been like to have each other to share this experience with? How often do you call each other and say, hey, this is happening, that's happening? No way, me too. Walk us through what this has been like for you and what kind of things you've done together.
It's an experience. It's like we get to experience moments together. We get to figure out what each other go through being pregnant with twins, because it's kind of unusual for us. So most of the time we're in this twin mom group. If we want to know anything different, we go and look to see what everybody else is experiencing. But it's exciting, that we all get to experience the same thing.
And Melody, I know you three share another much more sad connection in that your pregnancies all come after you all also experienced miscarriage. So what was it like to go from experiencing that together to being where you are now?
I mean, the situation is bittersweet, but we actually have each other, so it makes a big difference for us all.
Courtney, what do you think you've learned from each other? And what's your advice to other expecting moms out there who maybe feel alone?
There's always someone to talk to. If not family or friends, Facebook. Facebook has a lot of supportive groups. And I've learned, women should stick together. Come together. It's important.
And Melody, what are you most looking forward to once the babies are born?
Sleepless nights.
You know what, though? Most moms, Janicia, most moms have their sleepless nights and they're stuck by themselves dealing with it, or every now and then waking their husbands for a little company. At least the three of you guys get to call each other, right?
We do.
Well, listen, ladies, a huge congratulations to you all. It's lovely to see you all smiling and doing well, and wishing you all the best of luck. Janicia, I know this is your first time having kids. You're going to become a first-time mom, too, so a special congratulations to you, and good luck to you all.
I always thought that was crazy, just because three cousins, right? Three cousins all having twins, and they say twins don't run their family. If my girlfriend heard that, she'd be feeling ecstatic right now, because twins run in my family and twins run in her family. So you can keep hoping. But I just thought that was cool because, again, it's 6 lives are going to be coming into the world, and it's just the fact that it should be celebrated. Being a parent is definitely a lifelong commitment. At the same time, it's just beautiful to actually see that with women, especially with twins. I was like, all three of them. That's lottery. I'm sorry, that's lottery at that point. If three cousins all wind up having twins, all of them are pregnant. All of them are pregnant with twins. Play lottery at that point, because wow, that the odds of that happening are 1 in a million. But kudos to them. Last feel good story I got, guys, is literally a quick one, and again, it just goes to show you with this last one that there is value in a name.
Seeing Cameron's face, she broke down. In turn, I broke down. I came into Cameron's life when she was 5. We were thick as thieves soon after her and her mom started dating. We just had so much in common.
Explode.
Yes! And she started asking, hey, can my last name be Roussel? She'll use Roussel no matter where we went. The only place that we couldn't use the name was school. We had to use her legal name and her legal description for school. Cameron's adoption for me was a promise. I promised that I would always be there for her. I would love her unconditionally, and that I just wasn't in her life by accident. To all the step-parents, I understand what it feels like to go to baseball games and to go to soccer games and feel like the third wheel a lot of times, but you show up anyway. I just want you to know that you're appreciated, you are valued, and you are making a difference in these kids' life. Our babies cannot have enough people in their corner. I grew up not knowing my father. I've never met my father. And I understand the feeling of not feeling valued, wanting to be accepted, wanting to have something of your own. And so for me to be able to give that to Cameron, it kind of gives me some closure, and it also helps her. She can bank on somebody in her corner no matter what, and that's me as dad.
Finally tonight,
That's beautiful. There's nothing else. Like I said, the whole thing of a name is honestly amazing. And like I said, this guy stepped into a pre-started family and decided that he was going to be in that child's life no matter what. And I'm sorry, you can't write a better ending than that. The simple fact of the matter that, you're so much to be a part of a child's life that the child wants to take on your last name, which they went ahead and started the adoption process. And as you can see in the video, she was actually able to have the same last name as her dad. And I said that to me is beautiful. You can't write a better story than that. Just the fact of the matter is that dad is, to all parents and step parents out there who are there for their kid day in and day out, sir, that is salute on that one. That being said, guys, that's going to really do it for our podcast. I do apologize for the stream. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into this because apparently we got too real for Facebook. As the stream was dropping, not really sure what happened. However, we do have the complete one. I actually have it recording on a separate thing. So if you missed anything during this podcast, feel free to go back to where I have it uploaded on Facebook and on YouTube. And hopefully, if I can get this down to where I can just get the audio clip of it, I can actually put it on Spotify and things of that nature. I'm still working on that part. But that also being said, guys, before I do get out of here, I do do some shameless plugging. I do want to talk about my buddy Big BZA Dot, my broadcasting brother in arms, who will be doing his podcast very soon. As in very soon, I mean tomorrow. You can definitely find him, Avon Westwood, on Facebook at Big BZA Dot on all socials. Smoking Trailer Sundays, in which he shows videos of trailers and movie and video game trailers he finds interesting. That will actually start tomorrow, Sunday, 6:30 to 9 p.m. Of course, the RAF, which is like America's Funniest Home Videos, who've done by WorldStar, will be every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Definitely like, share, and repeat for my podcasting brother in arms. For any news and updates, please check out how you can find him out, Lamar Witherspoon on Facebook or BigBZA on all socials. Aside from that, guys, the link at the bottom, if you copy and paste that into your browser, will take you to my link tree for the Facebook and YouTube group for all of my podcasts, How the Frack We Got Here, Get Bit, and the Alphabets Podcast. Again, you can follow me here, BlackBox447 on IG. I do post a lot of things there, so definitely follow me from there. Aside from that, guys, as we've said so many times in this podcast, the COVID-19 Delta variant is real. If you are vaccinated, congratulations. If you're not, what are you waiting for? It is time to finally do that. Get vaccinated, mask up for the time being. Let's do the steps that actually gets us through this, because the consequences no longer affect you. They affect us all. And until you guys get on that train with us, I fear that's going to be the case for a while. But for the rest of us who's actually done this stuff, who's done it, keep doing that. Be aware, protect yourself, because again, it's not about us anymore. It's about everyone trying to get back to some sense of normalcy. Aside from that, guys, like I said, aside from that, the last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here is all about staying informed. We are not trying to change minds, persuade you, or force you to our way of thinking. We are simply providing you all the information that you need to make up your own mind, allow you to make up a decision for yourself. We do a lot better as a society once we're informed. We're progressive and we're moving forward. We're doing the things that we should have done, but history has told us that if we do not learn from it, we will repeat it. Such as electing our first Madam Vice President who is Black. Still hoping for Michelle Obama in 2024. I'm hoping. But aside from that, guys, thank you all for watching. If you're watching this on the playback, please comment if it's live, because pretty much this is how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys take care of yourselves and each other, and hopefully we will get through this. Peace.